all of us, all of this. On the line with us is Colonel Terry Lee, who worked with him at Fort Hood in the psych ward with Major Hasan and is live on the phone with us now. Sir, it's very good of you to join us. Thank you for your service, and thank you for calling in.
Thank you for having me on. Let me first give my condolences to the men and women who went through this tragic day.
Thank you, Colonel. I know that you are retired now and that you worked with him at the psych ward at Fort Hood. Our bookers have quoted you as saying that he was making what you termed outlandish comments condemning our foreign policy, and even once claimed that Muslims had a right to rise up and attack Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. Could you elaborate for us?
Well, there was a time we were at a conference.
When was this?
And this was roughly about 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
And he made several comments about how, first of all, we shouldn't be over there. And I told the major, I said, you need to lock it up, Major. This ain't the time for your views to be known to public individuals, because there was several news people that was there at the conference. And he kept
What did he say precisely?
He said precisely that maybe the Muslims should stand up and fight against the aggressor. And at first, we thought he was talking about how, Muslims should stand up and help the armed forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. But apparently that wasn't the case, because there was other times he would make comments to other individuals about how we shouldn't be in the war in the first place. And there was a specific time when there was a shooting at Little Rock.
At the recruitment center there, it's my belief.
Correct. And there was some comments made about it that he was almost sort of happy about it. And there was a couple other officers that were in the room and made the comment to him and said, well, how can you make that statement? And Nadal kept on making the comments, well, maybe we should get out, and this is what Muslims should do. They should stand up to the aggressor. Now,
it's my understanding from previous conversations with you through our Fox News employees that some of the physicians in the unit were discussing the incident and expressed disgust, and I'm quoting here, for the ragheads who might attack the military here in the United States. This was apparently said to Major Hasan, who it's my understanding is a convert to Islam. Is that right?
That's what I believe so. I believe...
and he got it... I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. Go ahead, Colonel.
But he made those comments, and he stuck strongly to his faith. But, as soldiers, we have a duty to, follow orders from our commander-in-chief, and, political views are set aside. But he was, after the shooting in Little Rock, he was almost outstandingly upset about, the way this man was treated in Little Rock. And he says maybe we should have more of these where people should strap bombs on themselves and go into Times Square. And that was from a third source, so I can't confirm that.
All right. Now you say that Hasan himself, again, we're on the line now with retired Colonel Terry Lee, who worked with the man on the right-hand side of your screen at Fort Hood. The man on the right-hand side of your screen is the one who is said by the military to have shot and killed 12 people at Fort Hood in Texas today and left 31 others injured. You have told our staff that Hasan seemed to believe, had feelings about President Obama and his election. Could you tell us about that?
Well, that was a comment that he made a couple of times in the conference room and also one time outside the facility, that he was hoping that President Obama would start pulling troops out and things would settle down. And when things weren't going that way, he became more agitated and more frustrated with the conflicts over there. And he was just, he made his views well known about how he felt about how, the U.S. involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And this is something that was investigated by the military, it's my understanding.
Well, that's what I was told, but when I retired, I left there and I didn't hear anything more about it. I was told that there was an investigation, but I couldn't tell you any further more than what they said. It was a he said, she said routine.
But, Colonel, you heard many of the statements that you've just reiterated to us, and I wonder, Colonel, were you concerned about this man and the safety of others?
At first, you blow it off from, people just being hot-headed and making, political views. But it seems like over a period of time, he became more, I would say, agitated about everything with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And his views, a couple of times when he was in a mobilization line, there was a confrontation with another soldier, which I just heard, bits and pieces about it, that he got in an argument and some name calling, and apparently there was something made to that trooper, which I can't recall, what was said, but there was a agitation. But here's the thing that is of concern: why was he transferred from Walter Reed Hospital to Fort Hood? I mean, there's something that happened there at Walter Reed. And that's where I hope the investigation will go and find out what happened at Walter Reed to get him transferred to Fort Hood.
Well, those are all questions that we will certainly be asking in the days ahead, and I'm sure the military's seeking answer to that sort of question as well. Colonel, when there are two others who are being held today and questioned, what was this man, Major Hasan? Did he have a group of friends who had similar beliefs as his, to your knowledge, direct knowledge?
No, he was sort of a loner to himself. He never did socialize a lot with a lot of the officers, off duty or even on duty that much. But he was sort of a loner to himself. You've
said, and you've said it here, and you said it earlier, that other members of the military, including officers, would call him derogatory names. Could you go through some of that and explain how those arguments went down?
Well, it started off, if any soldier gets in an argument, there'll be some name callings and all that. But apparently, he made some comments about we should be pulling out of Iraq and we shouldn't have any business there. And you've got some officers whose sons and daughters who were over there that feel strongly about it.
Of course they do.
They got into some name callings, and one thing led to another. But I don't think that would cause him to go on a shooting spree. I think there's a deeper seed than that.
I was certainly not making that connection. I was just trying to get to the bottom of what you heard and saw.
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot, especially in early situations like this here. But I feel confident in the CID and the FBI investigating this, and I'm sure they'll get to the bottom of it.
Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison of the state of Texas says that the Army major who's accused here was about to deploy overseas to either Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm assuming his entire group was. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, he was going to be deployed sometime at the end of the year here, and he was totally against going. Matter of fact, he was going through the chain of command trying to get that deployment canceled, and he was that strongly against it about going back over there.
Officials in Washington said they suspected that the shooter, they said the shooter was a psychiatrist. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And what sort, would he work? For instance, I know that a lot of psychiatrists work with men and women who come back from overseas and feel like they need somebody to talk to. Would that have been the kind of work that he did?
That's correct. And not only that, but mostly PTSD and other forms of maybe some type of alcoholism and maybe drug addiction and things of that nature.
Understood. Wow. Well, Colonel Lee, we greatly appreciate your being here. So sorry for everyone in the Fort Hood family, and thank you, Colonel Terry Lee, for your input here.
Thank you.
We're waiting for a news conference now at